Hi, everybody. Happy Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Stan Gravois, and you are listening to The Locker Room, which is presented by Terrebonne General Community Sports Institute. We are here every Monday to get you caught up with what happened on the high school scene in the Bayou region last week and to let you know what's upcoming this week. We have a long show for you today. And I say that simply because we were fortunate to have all of the baseball and softball coaches from the Bayou region in on Friday, and they gave us a preview of what their seasons might be like. So you're going to be able to get to that today. Today probably would be a great day for you to use our chapter marks down at the bottom if you are looking at us on YouTube, because you can get right to that coach you would want to get to. But it was fun having all the coaches in. We certainly appreciate them giving their time on Friday to talk to us, and it gives us a really good insight to what we could expect with baseball and with softball this upcoming season. As is the weekly practice, I am very fortunate to have Dustin Robichaud here with me. Dustin is our graphic designer here at Terrebonne General, and he puts together this podcast from a behind-the-scenes sort of look. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Thank you, Stan.
Just out of curiosity, a little bit of the Super Bowl yesterday?
I know enough to know that it reminded me of the Super Bowls of my youth. It was a blowout.
Yes, and when you said that, I realized what you meant, because we've been fortunate. We've had some close ones.
Yes.
But there was a time where they got out of hand quickly, and that one last night never was really competitive, quite honestly.
No matter what Taylor Swift did, it just...
She couldn't get on the tube. There's no doubt about that. Actually, more people are probably talking about halftime now than anything else. But no, a blowout last night, so that wasn't a whole lot of fun. I will say this. We are going to talk, obviously, a lot of baseball and softball, as I told you guys. But we are also going to get you caught up with soccer and basketball, because it is the meat of the season for both of those sports. First, real quickly, related to soccer, the school that seems to be like really, I don't want to call it excelling only in that, but they are certainly having a great soccer season at Central Lafourche High School. Both the boys and girls programs are in the quarterfinals. It's the sport, right? There's two things you can count on at Central Lafourche, and one of them is their band. Their band is always super great. And this year, they were the best band in the state of Louisiana on the high school level when we were in festival season. And these soccer programs, both boys and girls, doing well. As a matter of fact, we would implore you to go out and support the boys. They are playing today in the quarterfinals. They'll be taking on St. Thomas More at Trojan Field. That's a 6 o'clock start time. So you have number 4 Central Lafourche boys taking on number 5 St. Thomas More. That is a 6 o'clock start time. The other boys team from our area that is still in it is E.D. White. They are the number 7 seed. They'll be traveling to take on University High. That start time is at 6 o'clock today. That's going to be played in Baton Rouge. And I hear it's a little bit of a bummer for you, simply because E.D. White nipped Vandebilt, and you had a nephew on that team.
Actually, I have 2 nephews. One's on JV, but they do, they put them in sometimes.
It was a great match.
It was, yes.
And, and obviously a big rivalry with E.D. White and Vandebilt. And it was, again, the boys from E.D. White win it. They move on. Again, they'll be taking on University. So 2 local teams in the boys' side, Central Lafourche and E.D. White. Let's go to the girls' side. I mentioned how good Central Lafourche's program was, both boys and girls. Their girls are the number 5 seed. They have to travel to Lakeshore. So unfortunately, because they're the lower seed by 1 seed, they're going to be going up to number 4 Lakeshore, and that game is going to be played tomorrow. And there are games that are being played today. One of those on the girls' side is E.D. White again. E.D. White is playing. They're the number 7 seed. They are going to be at Archbishop Hannon on the North Shore. They'll be playing at 6 o'clock today. Vandebilt's still in that bracket in Division 2 for the girls also. They're the number 6 seed. They'll be taking on University. Now, for Vandebilt and E.D. White to meet in girls action, both would have to win, but they have tough tasks because they are playing up in competition related to the seedings. So let's hope that the girls from Vandebilt Catholic could go knock off the number 3 seed University team, and the number 7 E.D. White Lady Cardinals could go knock off the number 2 Hannon team. That's going to be tough for them to do, but we certainly hope that they can. Again, lots of baseball and softball. We're going to have interviews from all of the coaches. But first, before we do that, we're going to call in our friend Casey. He's going to talk to me a little bit about who might make the basketball playoffs. Only 1 week left of girls basketball, 2 of boys basketball. We'll get you caught up of who's in and who's going to be on the outside looking in. Happy to be joined by Casey. Casey, how are you after the Super Bowl last night?
Doing just fine, man. Woke up happy with the result. Woke up happy, to see that the Philadelphia Eagles knocked off the Chiefs, but woke up a little bummed that we don't have any more significant football till next fall.
So you kind of stole what I was going to go into. I was going to ask you if you had a dog in the hunt, but obviously it sounds like you were pulling for the Eagles. Big time Eagles, or just because you didn't like either team, you went Eagles?
I went Eagles just because I wanted something new. I mean, my allegiances. I can't root big for the Eagles, but I was rooting for them last night just to have something new at the podium there at the end.
Listen, and I am totally 100% with you, but I was thinking of the Cowboys and the Eagles, and you don't want the Eagles to get too strong, but boy, they really looked good last night. And I've always said, the one place I would really want to be good if I'm on any level of football is the defensive line, and they totally dominated that game last night.
I was thinking of you last night as I was watching it, but I said, Stan always says whoever wins up front is who's going to win. Well, the Eagles won up front decisively, and that's the biggest reason why they won the Super Bowl.
And listen, there was a time where I didn't think that much of Jalen Hurts. Not that I know. Let me rephrase that. I never thought he was a bad quarterback. I didn't know if he was elite. He did everything last night to prove he was pretty elite, except that I'm not sure you don't give that MVP award to the 4 defensive linemen for the Eagles.
100%. And, now I guess the $1 million question is, can Kellen Moore replicate that success in New Orleans, as it looks like he's going to be the next Saints head coach?
Yeah, but he doesn't have Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have Shaquan Barkley. He doesn't have Devontae Smith. He doesn't have A.J. Brown. He doesn't have Dallas Goedert, and he doesn't have that offensive line. But we'll save that for another day. We're supposed to be talking about high school sports, in particular basketball. 1 more week of girls basketball, 2 more weeks of boys basketball. I think as much as you have followed the sport, you pretty much know who's in, who's out. There are a lot of people starting to ask me who might make a run. So let's start with girls basketball first, which we usually don't do, but since there's only about a week left, when we look at our top division, which is Division 1, we have Thibodaux, we have Terrebonne, HL Bourgeois, South Lafourche, and Central Lafourche. If I were, and I know you keep up with this, so you're probably not the person to ask this question to. If I would ask the general layman out there, hey, I know you kind of follow high school sports, girls basketball, what school nearest to us would you think would have the highest PowerPoint ranking? I don't know that they would have said Thibodaux, to be honest with you. I for whatever reason, I was thinking maybe HL and Terrebonne might have a little bit more, but it's actually Thibodaux, right?
Yep. Coach Barba did an outstanding job with their schedule, man. That's what it all comes down to. All those teams have roughly the same records. All those teams obviously play in the same district. So then it becomes a race to who's generated the most PowerPoints in their non-district. And that was Thibodaux. Coach Barba did an excellent job putting their schedule together. Those ladies withstood a rough stretch in non-district play. They're going to get in, and they're probably going to be the highest ranked local district team. Now, I'll say this. One thing that really stood out in terms of teams that can maybe make a push, HL Bourgeois played an overtime game this week against a Destrehan team that's really, really good. A Destrehan team that beat John Curtis and is truly probably better than what their seed looks right now, even as I think they're one of the better teams in Division I non-select. Don't sleep on those Lady Braves. When they bring it, they could beat anybody. And obviously, this is the stretch run of the year. Coach Anderson talked to him Saturday. They think that they're playing their best basketball right now.
Very good. Those are the kind of things that I want the public to know, that, who's probably hot and who maybe is not. Central Lafourche is the only team on the outside looking in, has no chance of getting in. South Lafourche, I don't think, has a chance of getting in. But, boy, I'm going to tell you what, they could play with anybody when they got everybody there, right?
Yeah, that's the thing that derailed them. And I could tell you that for the last week of the season, they're not going to have everybody there. They got rebitten by the injury bug. Nyla Lyons went down injured again, suffered a foot injury. So she's going to be out probably for the remainder of the season. And for them, it was a situation where when they were whole, you're right, they played with everybody. When they were not whole, they struggled. And unfortunately, the injury bug rebit them as they've been without a couple of key pieces for the last 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Division 2 non-select. South Terrebonne probably going to be in. They're at 22. They'd have to really fall to get out of it. Remember 28 and make it. I'm sorry, Assumption at 22, South Terrebonne at 26. So South Terrebonne sort of on the bubble. But realistically, this is sort of baby steps for those programs to establish something, to get maybe a little experience in the playoffs, right?
100%, man. This is a situation where, when we were talking about Division 1 non-select a second ago, we're talking about a Thibodaux team that's made it to the second round of the playoffs, trying to get beyond. We're talking about a Bourgeois team that, as we said a second ago, played with a Destrehan. For Assumption and South Terrebonne, these are teams that are just extremely happy to be in this conversation, to be getting into the postseason. A little bit of a different stage of development. I got to tell you, I'm going to see Assumption tomorrow night. I haven't seen them in person, saw them in the Jamboree. I did see South Terrebonne, though. And you look at the record, and the assumption is always, okay, well, what South Terrebonne has this record, they must have scheduled really light. No, like they could play. They have some young ladies on that team that could score. They have some young ladies on that team that are athletic. They don't have a tremendous amount of seniors. So kudos to them. They did a wonderful job this season, really turning that thing around.
Yep, got a good little cycle going. I think her kids coming in there. Unfortunately, that cycle doesn't stay for long periods of time. That you need to establish some things. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out for them. In Division 2 select, obviously Vandebilt Catholic at number 2 is going to be a threat for a state championship. And then you have E.D. White at number 4. And I think E.D. White will probably stay at number 4. But I think there's sort of a difference somewhere between maybe the first 2 teams in this bracket and then everybody else. I don't know. What say you on that?
Yeah, look, I think even Coach Sinak would concede this, is that if they played Vandebilt, anytime they would play Vandebilt, they would be a pretty decisive underdog. I mean, Vandebilt is for more experience. They've got probably more depth. And then when you factor in the fact that the Terriers last Wednesday got Michaela Charles back into the lineup, that adds a whole nother layer to what they do. So, yeah, Vandebilt is a solid state championship contending team. And one thing I really want to shout out there, in addition to the great talent that they have, Coach Coleman has built a really good coaching staff. They have Nate Fry there that's coaching. They have Caroline Loop there, former Central Lafourche player, Leela Day. So in addition to the great talent, they have great coaching. They're, I think, one of the teams on the very, very, very short list. For E.D. White, I think that, maybe a step or 2 behind. But, boy, if they could punch that ticket into the top 28, that would be an amazing accomplishment as well.
I think what it could be considered a success is Houma Christian going into the playoffs at 22 in Division 3 select, simply because we didn't even know if they'd have a program a year ago. I think it's probably a genius scheduling by Jamar Celestine. He did it just right. I assume they're going to have enough games to be considered for the playoffs. But they're sitting at number 22. They'll be in. But, again, baby steps, right?
Baby steps. They're super young. They're super inexperienced. And for them, anything that they got out of this season would have been a little lanyap. So Coach Celestine is pleased with the development. They have lost some tough district games recently that he, kind of wish they could have got. But yeah, with them, they are still putting that thing together. They're still laying the foundation on ground level. In the future, though, however, they do have some young ladies on that team right now that they think could develop into some upperclassmen girls that could really play at a high level. But right now, they're still building that foundation for sure.
And finally, in Division 4 of Select, Central Catholic in pretty good shape. They're number 6. CCA at 14, they have a couple of kids who can really play on that team, too. I think that's going to be about your seeding and how and who you play and when you play them, right?
Yep. Shout out to Maddie Carey for CCA becoming a member of the 1,500-point club recently. She could really go. She's had an outstanding career, and you're right, Central Catholic is strong. They recently got a close, hard-fought win against CCA, but CCA is also one of those teams that they could get that right matchup. They could make a little noise. Looks like they'll be at home in the opening round, so another strong season for the Lions for sure.
Very good. Let's jump into the boys' side of things. In Division 1, non-select, South Lafourche going to be in. HL Bourgeois going to be in. Terrebonne going to be in. Thibodaux and Central Lafourche look like they're on the outside looking in. Is there any little kink in the armor with South Lafourche right now?
It's hard to say. I mean, they're healthy. They just kind of ran into a tough part of their schedule. Playing Vandebilt is what it is. They faced E.D. White. E.D. White had a great game plan. They executed. They made shots. It's probably coming down a little bit from where they were, sitting fourth or third or whatever in the power rankings, probably closer to what they actually are. But I do think that they're about to bounce back and finish the regular season strong. And then from them, it's going to come down to postseason matchups. Can they catch the right opponent? Can they catch, the right draw? And I tell you, in Division I non-select, that's not going to be easy to do because there are a lot of teams in the teens. There are a lot of teams in the 20s that are only in the teens and in the 20s because they have played gauntlet schedules. So it is going to be tough to catch a good draw. But if they can, yeah, sure, they can make a push for sure.
One of those teams might be Terrebonne High, quite honestly. If, things sort of work out the right way, it could be Terrebonne and South Lafourche playing in the first round. Certainly, we don't know that. 2 weeks from now is when the bracket is going to be released. The team that's sort of steady and has been kind of where they've been at 18, 15, 16, 19 has been HL Bourgeois, so kind of steady. But all three will be in as it stands right now. South Lafourche would definitely be the team that would be at home in the first round. Then you go to Division II non-select, and the only team, or at least the way I see it, the only team that'll be in is Ellender. Ellender a little tough to figure out. Sometimes you think they may have gotten over a hump, and then you're not quite sure. Your thoughts on Ellender?
Exactly what you said, and I mean, it's not just us. Coach Cornell Scott thinks the same thing. They'll go on a stretch where they'll win 3-4 games in a row, look good doing it, maybe win a close game down the stretch in that process. Then they'll have 3 or 4 games where they struggle and they show their youth. Now, last year they were all 9th graders, man. So like this year, they're all 10th graders. So yeah, they do have 1 year of experience, but they're also still, 15 and 16-year-old kids facing 18-year-old kids, right? So they're still a little bit behind that 8 ball. They're talented. They're much better than they were last season. But even Cornell kind of conceded on the radio, like maybe we're 1 year away from like really challenging to go and make it to Lake Charles kind of thing. So for Ellender, they did make some progress. They're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough out, but maybe just a year away from like really going and making that championship push that we're used to with them.
Yeah, and South Terrebonne has been kind of falling steadily. They're at 29, but the arrow is not up on the Gators. It's kind of fallen with the boys basketball program. I'm going to go back to Terrebonne real quick. Remember Terrebonne had that little problem with John Curtis, and then I think they lost to Patterson or somebody. And I was like, uh-oh. And I don't know what happened, and I don't know if that's because he sat a bunch of guys, against Patterson or whatever, but that seemed to have flipped the switch on Terrebonne just a little bit too, right?
Lost to Patterson as they had a bunch of suspensions that night after the John Curtis fiasco. And Brandon was actually super thrilled that it was even a close game, because he was throwing out a lot of young guys in that one. But yeah, you're right. They have found it. They've started to win those close games. They got Quincy Adams back in the lineup. He had been, out injured with some lingering football stuff. So with Terrebonne, man, like they defend you. They get after you. They're not intimidated, and they have so many guys. So the luxury is, everybody wants to play this tough pressure man-to-man defense, but a lot of teams can't do it for long because A, fatigue, B, foul trouble. That doesn't bother Terrebonne because they got 10, 12 kids who could do it. So if they get in foul trouble, they just plug in the next guy. They're going to be a very, very tough matchup coming home. And I think that the start of district play shows that right now. They and HL Bourgeois are probably the 2 teams on the short list to win that championship. And also kudos and shout out to our Bayou region. Our Bayou region is probably better than the river this year in basketball, man. So not only have they like caught up and made ground, and in many respects, they've kind of overtaken them.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. Let's go to Division II of Select. Vandebilt Catholic is sitting at number 9. E.D. White at 19. E.D. White started getting better, so there's an up arrow, I think, on E.D. White. Vandebilt Catholic kind of holding steady right there, but we know they're very talented. I know you did a little piece on Jordan Matthews where he is like from reading what you had wrote and everything, pretty phenomenal, right?
My goodness, man. 2,000 career points achieved on Friday. And I challenge anybody that is not familiar with Jordan Matthews' game to just go on Bayou Sports and watch the game against South Lafourche. I mean, making 3-pointers, off-balance 3-pointers, 3-pointers with multiple sets of hands in his face. Like, he just scores so easy. And then the trick of it is okay, if you want to try to double him or deny him or face guard him, whatever, then that's when Jaden Coleman beats you. That's when, Rob Sandolph beats you. That's when Josiah Johnson beats you, or Nixon, or Jalen Coleman, or, Smith in the middle, on and on. They have so much depth and so many playmakers, and they challenge you because unless if you have unbelievable defense and unbelievable ability to keep the ball away, they're scoring 70. It's a challenge for other high school teams to go into the game knowing, hey, we have to score 71 to beat these guys. Most teams just can't keep up with the scoring. That was the issue for South Lafourche on Friday. Yeah, they played okay. They just couldn't score with him. Vandebilt scored in the 80s, and the Tarpons just couldn't follow suit.
And Edie White is Edie White, like they are in every sport.
Yeah.
They don't kill themselves. They're not real flashy. They just kind of get it done. I mentioned this. This is a mind-boggling stat for me, especially being in the high school ranks as a coach. Edie White, to this point, so we're in, February, right?
Yep.
I think about it a little while. We're in February. Edie White's athletic programs have finished no lower than the quarterfinals. And that's only because we're in a situation where we don't know what they're going to do in soccer related to the boys. They may even be in the semis, right? But football was in the finals, volleyball in the finals, swimming, boys and girls were champions, state runner-ups. Cross country, boys and girls were champions and runner-up. It's almost like a little bit of pressure on Coach Keefe, and Nick to get things done. It's amazing at where they're at, and none of it has been flashy. None of it has been. It's just kind of, it's almost like teams that have to grind to get the wins, right?
Look, I could tell you a story. They came down the Bayou and faced South Lafourche last week, and South Lafourche had not lost a home game and, frankly, had not really been challenged in a home game. They have a big home crowd, crazy student section. They make noise. Frankly, they intimidate their opponents. Edie White came in with those kids who had played in the Superdome and those kids who had played in Sulphur. And they didn't blink. They're like, okay, you're screaming at me. Like, I don't care. Whatever. We're going to go play. And they beat the brakes off of South Lafourche that night. They played very well, and they gave them a butt whooping. And that's the thing about them is they don't get rattled. There's nothing that you could throw at them that they haven't seen either on the basketball floor or just in general by playing in a decorated football program, by playing in a decorated baseball program, by, being a state championship swimmer or whatever it may be. They just don't blink. They go into every situation thinking and expecting that they're going to win. And more often than not, that's exactly what happens for them.
Let's drop down to Division III, non-select. Houma Christian at 23. Houma Christian, I think, sort of the beneficiary of early season success and getting ranked high and not dropping like a log, but kind of steadily dropping down. I think it's going to be a challenge for them to advance a ways in that bracket, right?
Yeah, it will, and they're really young. Even their key pieces, the Justin Brinsons and the Dustin Adams, it's all kids who are going to be back next season. So for them, kind of similar to the ladies, just kind of laying that foundation. The best is yet to come. The one thing that I would caution Houma Christian School in this is, in any of the teams that are right now 27th or in the select school side, 24th or whatever, when you're doing your research and go preps, go make sure nobody below you is going to be a district champion, because there's a strong chance it happens every year. There's a strong chance that if you're sitting at 24th or whatever, you may think that you're going to get in, and you may actually end up not getting in.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense because they're sitting right there at that point. Let's talk about, finally, Division IV select. This is interesting. CCA is 17. There might be a little up arrow. I know, there are some kids who are getting a little bit more healthy. And I think they're seeing some success now.
Yep.
Then you have Central Catholic, who we thought was dead and gone because they had to forfeit all of those games. And now they're sitting at 26, only 2 away. And then you just mentioned if you win your district championship. So talk about those two teams just a little bit.
Yeah, for CCA, you hit the nail on the head. Getting some guys back. There's even rumors and whispers that one of the Carter brothers may come back fairly soon. They're starting to win some games. They're playing real well. They're in contention to win the district championship. But that district is going to be they, Jeanneret, or Central Catholic, and they've all beaten one another. Jeanneret beats Central Catholic. Central Catholic beats CCA. CCA beat Jeanneret. So right now they all got one loss. They've all beaten one another. And then you mentioned Central Catholic a second ago. Let me tell you something. If they get in at like 23, 22, I pity the 10 or 11 seed that's going to face them in the opening round, because they're not bad. They could play. They have Benjamin Case, who's going to the state all-star game. Shout out he and Jordan Matthews, our two local kids who are going to the state all-star game. And they could really play, man. They challenged South Lafourche, went down to the last second in that game. And if not for the forfeitures, they would comfortably be in. So yeah, if it's a situation where they could sneak in somehow, don't be surprised if they win that opening round game and make a little push.
One real quick question. If they were all three to tie, and I do not know the answer to this, if they were all three to tie for the district championship, do all three automatically get in?
No, sir. So you have to crown one, and every district has different rules and regulations in their bylaws. Usually it comes down to who has the highest power rating score. You can't just say who's the highest ranked, because, Jenneret's in a non-select side, CCA and Central Catholic are in the select side. So they'd go by that score. And that's usually how it's decided. I'm not exactly sure how that 1A district does it. But that's usually how they break the tiebreakers. Back in the day, they used to go and play like a playoff game and everything. They don't do that as much anymore now, but that's usually the tiebreaker that everybody chooses.
Yeah, you answered my question. One team gets designated as a champion,
yeah,
which it makes sense. Instead of,
and it's worth noting. So I'm sorry, Stan. It's worth noting that is a 2-round district, so they're gonna all play one another again too.
Very good, very good. Again, 1 week away from the girls' bracket being put out, and 2 weeks away from the boys' bracket. Thank you for giving us some time. I know it's been busy. You've been at Nichols. You've been calling games. You've been keeping your eye, covering soccer and everything else. We enjoy and are very grateful that you do all of that. But somewhere along the line, you got to get on a cruise ship and go take another little cruise.
That's the plan, brother. This coming spring, that's the plan.
Very good. Thank you so much, Casey.
Have a great day, bud.
As I mentioned, we had all the baseball and softball coaches in this past Friday. They talked to us a little bit about what we can expect from their programs this upcoming year. I am happy to be joined by Jamie Delahoussaye, head baseball coach at Ellender Memorial High School. Coach, if you can, a little bit about what's been going on throughout January. How do you feel about your team at this point?
Feeling pretty good so far. We managed to get an umpire scrimmage in, managed to get our first scrimmage in due to the snow event. So there was a lot of adjustments there. I mean, it was great to see, but it also took a week away from us. Very pleased with what I see right now. We're running the bases well, putting the ball in play a little bit. Still got to work on a little bit of defense and pitching right now, but I'm pleased where we're at right now.
You know, there's a lot of cliches. My team is young. My team is experienced. We need to do this. We need to do that. If you had to describe your team right now, what would you describe it as?
I think we're a little bit of a veteran team right now and experienced due to the fact a lot of the guys who playing this year played a lot last year as younger players.
Talk about what your strengths might be. Is it on the mound? Is it hitting, defense?
I think eventually we'll be on the mound, but I also think base running will be a huge asset for us, especially when we get on the base path. I really want our guys to be aggressive and be smart and be able to maneuver bag to bag. Listen, some people don't like to mention and single out players or whatever. So I'll leave that up to you. You might want to keep it more in a team concept. But that part of the game, or maybe those guys that you feel like are going to really contribute this year. I do have a few guys, a couple of juniors this year, Cade and Guidroz, Dakota Porsche. They're my juniors, leaders that are going to be stepping up in a big way, holding guys accountable this year. and even the 3 seniors I have this year are going to be able to kind of step up with those 2 guys.
So at this point, and obviously we're just getting into Jamboree in the beginning of the season, for Ellender Memorial to be successful in baseball, whatever you define as being successful, what has to happen? What do you need to see happen?
I need to see the guys do whatever it takes to win the baseball game this year. It could be laying a bunt down. It can be getting to the next bag, making a routine play. It's whatever it takes this year to be able to take that next step to get back into playoffs this year.
Very good. Thanks, Jamie.
Yes.
I'm happy to be joined by a guy who is not a stranger to sports in our area, Kamarcus Jones, although first year as being softball coach at Ellender Memorial. How are you, my friend?
All right, how you doing, Coach?
Talk a little bit about how it's been going.
It's going pretty good. This summer was my first time meeting the girls, but it ended up pretty good going through the summer workouts.
Very good. Any scrimmages or anything leading up to this?
No, we have a late start right now. Still kind of looking for a scrimmage. So if anybody have an opening.
Let me ask this. Most people have their field sort of secure and everything. Where are you still? Is it still a struggle?
Yes, sir. Still a work in progress.
Very good. Very good. We mentioned this when we were talking to your baseball coach, Jamie. There are cliches out there. My team is a veteran team. My team is very young. My team's going to be good in the circle, but we got to do these other things. How would you describe your team?
For us right now, I have 2 seniors, but we still young. We have a couple of vets coming back, but for the most part, we're still young.
Very good. Strengths, what do you think you might be good at? Is it pitching? Is it defense? What might it be?
For right now, that's something we still trying to figure out.
Okay, very good. Finish your statement. For us at Ellender to be successful in softball this year, and listen, people have different ideas of what success is. Some people it's to win a state championship. Some people it's to win 5 games. Some people it's to just compete. For you to be successful, what you think needs to happen?
The things we preaching to our girls right now, we're just looking to compete.
Very good. Very good. We wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you.
I am happy to be joined by Julio Archilla, the head coach of Terrebonne High. Julio is new to Terrebonne High in his first year as a baseball coach, but not new to our area. Coached at one time at Vandebilt. His sons, obviously very good in the area, now are playing at the next level, which I've always wondered, how is that going to work when you're at Terrebonne? You're just going to kind of keep up as much as you possibly can, right?
Technology's gotten us all kinds of places right now. So I get to watch their games streamed live or recorded on demand, what have you. But I get to see them more than had I not gotten into this.
That's true. That's a great point. That's a great point. Talk about the Tigers a little bit. You guys have certainly been at it. What do you think of your team at this point when you're just about to start the season?
I'm happy with where we are. I'm impressed with the focus and dedication that they've put into this since July. I was hired late and immediately came in and just kind of said, guys, this is what we want to do. This is the direction we want to go. And really it's left up to y'all. We can keep doing what we've done in the past, or we can change the culture and really start focus on the things we don't do well and focus on the things that we need to do well. Basic fundamental baseball.
Has it gotten to a point where obviously people get to know their team, so to speak? What have you found out about your team? And sort of describe your team. Is it a station to station kind of team? What kind of team do you think you have?
No, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to play a lot of small baseball, bunts, hit and runs, steals, squeeze, things like that. But we do have some guys that can drive the baseball into the gaps and out of the ballpark. It's just timing, productive at-bats, productive outings on the mound. Once we start getting efficient at different things that we weren't efficient at before, success is going to follow.
Want to point out anybody? Some coaches don't like to do that, but anybody you'd like to maybe single out that you've been impressed with what they've done so far?
I can say this. The guys that came from football have done a tremendous job of kind of setting the culture and setting the bar higher. Football had a very successful season this year, and the guys that really led the football team are kind of doing the same thing for the baseball team.
Very good.
We're leaning on them.
Very good. What you think your strengths will be?
That senior leadership. We only have 4. I only have 1 with us right now. The others are in powerlifting and basketball. But once they get out there, we'll have a good core of seniors. But I got to give it to Landon English. He stepped up and really bought into what we're trying to do, and has those guys believing in what we're trying to do, and they follow him, I would imagine, to wherever he wants to go. So we're doing well.
Finish your statement. At this point, obviously we're early on, but at this point, I really need to see these things get better for us to be successful.
We have to play baseball the way it's supposed to be played. We can't keep giving away outs. We can't have bad outings where, we have 3, 4, 5 outs against us, 2 or 3 errors during the game, 2 or 3 errors during an inning, free base path. Those obviously don't lead to good baseball. So if we can, stop giving away outs, we can compete.
So your gift to being the new coach at Terrebonne High was you have to host a jamboree this year?
I found that out maybe about a month ago, so it worked out well.
Yeah, very
I like
good.
it.
You have a beautiful facility there, so we hope that things go well. Listen, thank you for your time. Best of luck this upcoming season.
Thank you.
Very happy to be joined by Corey Sullivan, head baseball coach at HL Bourgeois High School, a position that he's not in his first year because he's been obviously coaching in our area for a long time, but it's his first year back. I'll term it as that. How's it been for you?
It's been a work in progress, Stan. It seems like just trying to figure out the kids' names and all the repair jobs and the field work that needs to be done. It just seems like the work is never stopping, and every day it's something different.
Julio mentioned something, head coach of Terrebonne mentioned something when he was up that I think is it's lost on me from the time when I was coaching way back when, is y'all have so many other things between powerlifting and bowling and obviously soccer wrapping up. Have you seen your entire group together yet?
Not really. Just this week we got kids at close up. We have kids that are involved in bowling. We have kids that are involved in band. So it's really to see the whole team together. It hadn't taken place yet.
So let's move forward from that. The best you can tell, what is the strength of your team? What do you think your team's going to be good at from what you've seen throughout January and the beginning of February?
Well, I think our pitchers are going to throw strikes. They're going to get up there and compete. Obviously, we're going to have to be solid on defense. We don't have that dominant arm, but as long as you're throwing strikes, you're giving yourself a chance to win.
Sure. Do you consider yourself to be a veteran team, a young team, kind of a mix?
I believe it's more of a veteran team. We have 7 or 8 seniors, and some of them didn't play last year, but they have some ability to step in and fill those voids from the seniors that graduated last year.
Anybody we should be looking out for, either a position we should be looking out for or individuals that might step up for you?
And, well, I think Cody Crochet has done some good things. He's one of our pitchers and an outfielder. Good contact hitter, runs well. Logan Rogers, my catcher Cole Guidroz, and my first baseman Dawson Prejean are guys that I'm gonna be looking for some production at the plate.
Very good. So finish your statement for me. For us to be successful, whatever your definition of success is this year, you think y'all are going to have to do what? What have you maybe not seen yet?
Well, just like my teams in the past, and I'm going to continue with the same philosophy, is number 1, we have to pitch well. And number 2, we have to be good on the bases. And number 3, we have to play good defense.
Very good. Very good. And your field situation, I know you've had to really turn around and put a lot of work into the field. You feel pretty good about it right now, right?
Well, I'm very happy with it, and it's been a lot of Saturdays and Sundays, but I can tell you this, the parents are very excited about it.
Very good. Very good. And that's one thing I do want to add to all of this. Baseball and softball coaches have to do what the other coaches don't. And I'm not trying to offend football coaches or basketball coaches or bowling coaches, but they just sort of go out there, and baseball and softball coaches have to manicure a baseball field. And if they're lucky enough to have good parents, great. but it's still a job and a chore. So I do appreciate everything y'all do with that. Thanks, and we wish you the best this upcoming
Thank you,
season.
Stan.
Very fortunate to be joined by Butch Theriot, assistant baseball coach over at CCA. Butch's first year at CCA, joining a program that last year made it to the semifinals, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
correct.
How's it been going so far?
It's going really good, man. Just the kids are really working hard. We're having a very successful athletic program, and they went to the quarterfinals in football, and a lot of our baseball guys played football, and they actually, Saturday, they're going to play in the quarterfinals of soccer. So very successful with these guys.
You have to share, obviously, at that level, at single A, and you knew this from your time at Houma Christian at double A, where guys are going to have to play both. But y'all sort of do it in a way where, whereas some schools may say, you're off limits until your sport ends, y'all have to sort of share during now. So I realize you're soccer kids, and we hope that, we hope they go win a state championship,
Absolutely.
right? But that being said, they still get some swings in, right?
Well, you know Coach Joe Tuton. They definitely getting their swings in. There's no doubt. We make sure that they getting their reps in, especially in the cage. It's kind of hard on the mound getting them in. First thing they do is when they get out of school, they come, they do their BP, then they go to whatever practice they have to go to.
An objective set of eyes where you look at it, coming in this year for the first time, what do you think is the strength, either of the program or just what the kids are doing on the field?
The program.
In general?
The program in general, with the experience of the program, the guys knowing what to do, where to be, how to practice, what's expected of them. They know what to do. They know what's expected of them.
Okay, so let's talk about on the field, whether it be pitching, hitting, defense. What do you think might be the strength? I realize you might say, well, I think we're pretty good everywhere, but is there a strength?
Probably our 1 through 6 hit in the lineup. I think that's our main strength. So.
Very good. You want to point out any kids in particular? Or?
Man, we got a gift this year. So we got transferred from Central Lafourche. Mason Canner came over to us, just signed with Nichols. So that's helping our defense and hitting in the lineup. We also, the guys returning in the Carson Hebert and the Trosclair twins, and just everybody that played last year with the experience they got last year is definitely going to help us this year.
Well, I got this question early in the week, and I didn't have the answer for it. Canner can play with you when?
Now.
From get-go.
He's immediately eligible.
Immediately eligible. Okay, good. That answers that question. Your statement, and this is obviously from your perspective and not Joe Tuton's perspective, the thing that has to get better, or the thing for y'all to really get over the top and be in Sulphur again, has to be what?
Unnecessary errors and walks.
Just not giving up things
Just
you don't
doing the things that we're not accustomed to doing, trying to change our approach to somebody else. I think if we be who we are, then we're going to be pretty good.
And in fairness to Joe, Joe has a son who plays collegiate ball, and he's in Pensacola today. So we'll give him a pass that he could be with his son playing over in Pensacola. Thanks. Hope y'all have a terrific season.
We're going to have a great one. I think we're looking forward to it. We hope to get back to Sulphur and hopefully win a couple games up there.
I am joined by Rusty Theriot, head softball coach over at HL Bourgeois. You got a lot of tenure, man. You might be one of the most tenured coaches in the area now that we think about it. I'm not trying to make you sound old or anything.
I am old.
Oh, there you go.
Sounds that way.
How's it going? How have y'all been looking in January?
Good. We start our workouts real early. We do conditioning throughout the year. Just helps out a lot with the freshmen coming in, getting them built up. So they're looking good.
Everybody talks about what kind of team they have, whether it be young, old, experience, which is certainly not the same as necessarily being old. What would you describe your team as being?
A mixture. I got 4 seniors this year. All the rest are juniors and sophomores. And I think I'm at eight freshmen.
Anybody you would want to single out necessarily for doing a good job in January, or maybe even a position grouping? How would that work?
I mean, my top 9 starters are they're ready to go. You can't really single out one or the other.
So if there's a part of the game that has to get better for you, what would you think that would be? What are you not maybe happy with at this point?
Team bonding.
Is that right?
Team coming together. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about where you might be the best at. Is it in the circle? Is it defensively? Is it offensively at bat?
Defensively would be in the circle behind the plate. Offensively would be top 6 batters. So,
Are you a goal setter?
very goal setter.
What would be that first goal? I know some people want to climb the ladder of goals. Some people just have one goal. What would you describe as being maybe that first goal y'all have to achieve?
Coming together, playing together as one. And
So right now it's a lot about bonding for
Yes.
y'all with the girls.
Yes.
Very good, very good, very good. As we move into Jamboree season and the beginning of the year, you said you know you're 9. Are you a little worried about depth after that?
No.
So you think you'll be good with that? Very good, very good. Well, we do wish you the best of luck this upcoming season.
Yeah, me too.
It is my pleasure to be joined by Shane Trosclair, head baseball coach over at Thibodaux High School. Talking to Julio, I was thinking about the sons and trying to follow. You got the same kind of problems where you got to follow family. How you going to pull that off, man?
Don't sleep. I don't like to miss anything. We got, Camden's starting his club ball at LSU. They open up February 21st and 22nd. They going to Starkville, Mississippi. I'm already thinking about how I'm gonna get there on the Sunday. Cole's in basketball right now. We got a big game tonight at home against Hanville, and we have a freshman jamboree. I'm gonna be in 2 places at one time. So
Needless to say, there will
It's
be a
gonna be
lot of
traveling.
miles on the car, and you and your wife are going to make it work.
we're gonna make it work. When Brody goes out to college next year, then the Tigers and Thibodaux won't be playing on the weekends, so we'll make it work.
Listen, you've enjoyed a couple of really good years there with Thibodaux the last couple of years. You are excited about the way things have been going so far in January and February?
Very excited. We got a veteran, I would say, lineup, lot 12 seniors or so, but we're ahead of the game than we were a year ago. So I'm excited in the direction that we're going with this group.
Describe it. I guess when you say that, you talk about the 12, is it more of a veteran group that you could count on? Do you feel good about leadership, those type things?
I do. It's a veteran lineup. On the pitching side of things, we're a little vanilla in the varsity level. We'll give them to grow. But we have a couple of senior arms that are leading that group. So very exciting, the leadership on our offense and on our pitching.
So from a transition standpoint, what do you feel is the best position group you have going for you right now? Like, I don't have to worry about that. I think we're going to be good on the mound, or I think we're going to be good offensively. Or do you just sort of worry about all of it, or how does that work?
I'm a Warrior Ward. I worry about everything, but I think really we're going to have a good lineup 1 through 9. We're going to be able to produce some runs. We can hit it, we can bunt it, we can run it. For us to be successful, I know that question's coming, but we got to grow on the mound. And I think that we're going to do that with our younger kids that are watching one of the guys that we got work and his work ethic on how he got successful. And they kind of taking a toll of that and following what he does, his lead, and they're getting better as we go.
So talk about that a little bit. Some of the plays that you think are your leaders or that you might want to single out a little bit, that if we can sort of emulate what this is doing, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we got a really good, tight-knit group of seniors. They always hang out together. They've been playing ball together since they were in the 7th and 8th grade. We got a group of kids that I'm most proud about is off the field. They got some adversity in their life when it comes to family. And when they get on the field, it's kind of like they take that adversity out and they have fun. They just worry about baseball. And they're succeeding right now. And seeing them smile through being successful is making me happy on the inside, knowing what they're coming from before they get on the field. So I'm really excited about this group and how their togetherness, on how they're pulling for each other, and how they handle the adversity off the field is leading to success on it.
You are probably one of the elder statesmen, not only in softball and baseball, but just in general as being a coach for a long time in our Bayou region.
Year 25.
25. We do have some guys out there that are around 25. That being said, have you figured out how to make a schedule? I don't care. I don't know if I'm even talking about baseball right now. With the way the LHSA is with power rankings and such, do you sit there with a pencil and say, no, I don't want to play this person because of this. I want to play this person. Have you sort of figured it out yet? Or are you the kind of guy that says, I'm just going to play the toughest people I can and let's see?
It's kind of a mixture. If they text me and want to play, I put them down on the schedule. I mean, I've been doing it for so long, and I got a few seasons left. I very little have to go out and find a game, so we'll do it like that. Try to stay local. Lafourche Parish bus situation, we have many bus drivers unless we want to drive, so we try to stay as local as we can and try to balance it out home away. You know, so they text me, we play.
Very good. Very good. Wish you the best of luck this upcoming
Appreciate you.
season.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to be joined by Darian Ockman, head softball coach at Thibodaux High School. How have y'all been doing this January as we're leading up to the jamborees and such?
I've been doing pretty good. I just got my soccer players back as of Wednesday night.
Listen, it's kind of a dual-edged sword. I know you were sitting there and you were hoping that they would do well. On the other hand, you don't see the girls. By the way, did you see them at all?
I did during the summer. So I saw them throughout the year, but once school started, I lost them. It's nice to have them back. So.
Did you kind of foresee it? Did you know that the girls' soccer program was probably going to be pretty good
this
year?
Yeah. They usually are pretty good all the time.
So did that have any influence on the way you scheduled early on this year, or you just got to sort of make your schedule?
Yes and no. I did take that into mind, like how many games would I have to go into the season? But it helps that most of it's starting out with scrimmages and giving the younger ones more time because my soccer girls are usually, they're my older girls.
But they were so successful that it kind of, I think that's probably going to carry over to you girls, you know, in softball.
Oh, yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very competitive. They, it's an awesome group of kids I got.
So what have you been happy with? What have you enjoyed seeing the girls do to this point? I know it's still early, but you think this is going well?
Yes, I do, and I think it's going to continue to go well. They're starting to mesh with each other. They all bond well. Just having them together, though, as a whole now, again, I can't wait to, like, just get rolling now.
Strongest part of y'all game, you think? Is it in the circle? Is it defense? Is it offense? Or it's kind of a combination?
I would say it's kind of a combination. We're really good at offense, like putting the ball in play. I would say our weaker side is our defense part, but we have newcomers coming in to make our circle stronger, so that should help with the defense and them having that rhythm and that being consistent.
Who's some of your leaders? Who are girls we might kind of look out for this year?
I got my returners, Morgan Barn, Bailey Perkle, so that's a senior, and then a junior, and another junior I got Addison Dickerson. And then I got a freshman that came in that's going to be one of my starting pitchers, Addison Martinez.
I asked some of the other coaches if they were goal-orientated. Are you goal-orientated? Do you sit down and consciously make a goal for your team? Or you kind of just sort of go with the flow and see how things sort of...
Oh, absolutely. With my crew, you have to basically set a goal. It's like, look, this is what it looked like in the past. This is where we need to be. This is where you should want to be. And they all agree. And so it's just us working towards that to meet our goals.
Very good. We wish you the best of luck this upcoming season.
Thank you so much.
Happy to be joined by Chad Menard, head baseball coach at Vandebilt Catholic. A terrific year last year, actually a terrific few years in a row. Last year in the semifinals, a tough loss to Turlings, but a terrific year for you guys. So let's start with what we talked to all of these coaches about. When you sit down and you reflect on last year, going into this year, did you think it would be a starting over process or kind of a good mix from those kids who graduated last year? Because you have a couple that are playing on the collegiate level from that team last year.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that mix. Do you feel like you have a team that is ready to go, or there's still some work to be done related to leadership and those type things?
No, the leadership's been great. There's always moving parts, but I think we create our program to be about all 5 grades that are at Vandebilt, and not just one grade and not just one team, but it's everybody. So when one group graduates and the next one comes in, you know, they're ready. They know what the expectations are. They know what the standards are, and they want to. You mentioned success for a couple of years, you know. Hopefully we can continue that up. They know what came before them. We respect our history and we respect what the program's about, and they want to be the ones to keep that going.
So talk about January and this beginning part of February. Do you like what you're seeing on the field? You feel pretty good about where y'all are at?
Oh, I love it. You know, I guess if there's one disappointing thing is we missed a week of practice with the crazy weather we had, cold snap. But I think skill-wise, we're in a great place, maybe the best place we've been since I've been at Vandebilt. Coming together, they got a feel for what's expected. They got a feel for the way we handle defenses, offenses, approaches, and all that kind of stuff. So really excited about the season, and not only that, baseball-wise, but just the people. Solid families that we have in our program that are all coming together, and there's an air of excitement amongst our program. So it's really a comfortable, drama-free place and enjoyable to go to every day.
So let's talk about, and this could be on a personal level, where you mentioned a couple of kids, or it could be a position grouping, pitchers, or we're really good in the middle infield, whatever it may be. Talk about stress. So maybe some of those guys, again, if you want to mention them, some coaches come and they do not want to talk about individuals at this point in the season, and some are like, no, I need these guys to step up. What say you?
Experience is really strength. I think offensively we have a lot better, a lot more returnings, not necessarily better, but we lost 100 innings on the mound from last year, and 3 different senior pitchers that logged combined 100 innings. So we have the same talent level, or maybe even better talent level coming in to replace them, but those guys just don't have the varsity innings that the ones coming in do. But strength-wise, I think we run the bases well. We're fast. We had a really, really good offseason in the weight room. Thanks to our strength and conditioning coaches, Miss Amelia and Mr. Pat there. They get our guys going, and, the ball comes off the bat a little hotter than it has. Out of the box, our guys are really doing well. We got great first steps. So, I'm excited about the skill set they bring, and we just got to, just because you're strong doesn't mean you can catch the ball or square it up. So we got to get that part in it, but we're in a good place.
Finish this statement for me. For us to be successful, and everybody defines success at a different level. Obviously, you've been going to Sulphur, so you would like that success, I would assume. For you to be successful, to be over the top, to be in a state championship game, what do you think has to happen?
Yeah, it's more process driven. I don't think we're going to amount success, wins and losses, things. I think wins are a byproduct of hard work and preparation, and we try to do that in our process. But specifically, I think the main thing would be pitching wise, to minimize the walks and the free passes. And then offensively, minimize the strikeouts. Really be able to bear down with 2 strikes and put the ball in play. I think that'll be a big key to our season.
Very good, very good. We wish you the best of luck this year.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I am happy to be joined by James Spearman, head softball coach at Vandebilt Catholic. That's a little where everybody knows Coach Spearman from the area, and I'll go so far as to sort of call you the godfather without stepping on Margaret's toes too much or anything like that. But this is the first go-round as a head coach. How's it been for you? Is it different for you?
It's challenging. Yes, it is.
From what perspective?
There's so much more to do. Being an assistant all those years and basically pitching coach all those years, it's you can come and go, but as a head coach, you got to set up the logistics. You got to bother the Chads of the world, and set up your transportation. You got to schedule, and so it's a lot. It's a lot different.
Well, listen, congratulations. You've been part of many state championships, but you are coming off of a state championship. Relatively young. I know you would love to have the, Corinne Talbots of the world and those kids back. But that being said, how do you feel about the way things are going? And the other day, someone asked me, Vandebilt softball, what do you think? And I said, well, it's a veteran group coming back. And they're like, how can it be a veteran group? And I don't know how to define it. How do you define it?
Well, as you know, we lost 5 seniors, but we lost 6 players from last year's all starters. But what we have is that we had a lot of girls that did get playing time last year. And we have some key players coming back. And I would say that our infield and our pitching, catching side of it is going to be very solid. It's the outfield that's the question right now, but I see improvement every day.
Very good. So obviously happy with the pitching, more than one?
Yes. We're fortunate. We have 3 good pitchers on the staff right now, and we have more that we're developing.
Is softball in the days that you have seen it, is that, I could remember 25 years ago,
people saying because it's a natural motion of the arm, the girl could go up there and she could pitch a whole tournament and it's not a problem. Do you sort of have to have somebody else today?
Yeah, I think you do. I think you have to have it. You have to be that if you go and you're going to play one game a day, then I think you'd be fine. But in these tournaments, sometimes we play 2 games, and so it definitely helps. And then if you have someone go down because of injury, then you always have someone that can step in. And what we try to do is try to work them all, not equally, but we try to give them all some work against some good teams.
So I understand that Coach Johnson is helping you.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad.
So
to
how
have
does
her.
the dynamic of that work? Do you still do what you did when you were the assistant? Do you jump into the third base box? How is that going to work?
Yeah, I talked to her about that, and so we're going to kind of do a dual role in that. I'm going to be in the third base box as much as I can, but also with the pitching, I've always felt that the pitching is a very, very key to winning, to your win-loss. And so sometimes during the game, I have to make adjustments. And so in those points and times, I'll ask Coach Margaret to step in there while I go into the bullpen and work them. But that's our game plan.
So with all of the positivity that we just expressed, talk about what has to get better. You know, as you looked at things throughout January and early February, you're thinking we still have to get over the hump with doing that consistently well.
We need to start to make sure that we're taking the right angles in the outfield, making sure that we're scooping and shooting correctly, not letting the ball get by us because nobody's behind us. And I'm saying that not because we're weak in the outfield, but because we see places we have good athletes that we know can get better in the outfield. So that's what I would say.
And from a standpoint of, you said 5 seniors last year, so you had leadership. You had a lot of younger girls too. Do you have that leadership element this year?
We do. We have 2 juniors, Lauren Baudouin and Hayes Rutledge, that have taken on that role, and I got to say that they're doing a fine job.
Very good. Very good. We wish you the best of luck this upcoming season.
Well, I certainly thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good. It is my pleasure to be joined by Mike Barba, head coach of South Terrebonne High School's baseball program, a program that has been doing so well over the last few years. You got kids who are playing on the next level. You're 3 years removed from a state championship. A lot of people talk about the ebbs and flows, especially when you sort of get a cycle in and such. You've been able to sort of maintain it for the most part. How do you feel about this group, to be just blunt, the January going into February group?
Yeah, I feel good. Year in and year out, I think the standard remains the same in what you're chasing. So you're always holding that, whether the kids come in, are able to achieve that standard. Is the goal is to give yourself a chance to achieve that standard. And these group of kids right here that we have reminds me a lot of the 2021 year, where in 2020 with COVID, we lost a lot of seniors. And the next year, we really didn't know who the leadoff guy was, who the 4-hole was going to be, and all those things throughout the field. And this year's kind of the same way. It's just a bunch of scrappy players that are going to show up, and they've been playing the game the right way, which is all I can ask them to do.
So just recently, and I'd ask you if you agree with this or say it's totally wrong and it can't happen that way. A fellow who played at South Terrebonne years ago asked me who's the top 4 pitchers that ever pitched at South Terrebonne, which I didn't know. And they kind of started asking each other. Not one of the names came from like the 2020s, right, when you win a state championship. And the guy in the Houston area said, how can that be that maybe those guys, and I think when we talked to Chandler a little bit about South Lafourche and stuff, sometimes you look at it and it's that intangible. What's intangible in baseball that sort of gets it over the top?
Man, when you talk about that year and the crew that led up to that year, you talk about the same thing with 2020, 2021. And even the past couple of years, I know we haven't necessarily made the playoff runs that we would have liked to, but we were still up there where we wanted to be when the season ended. And when you talk about players like that, with the Christian Arsenaults, the Bryce Lejanis, the Jackson Martins, it was just their toughness, their leadership, their willingness to not fail. And that's something that it's hard to find in players. I tell Ashley this all the time. She coaches at Thibodaux High. That special players.
His wife.
special players make special teams that have special years. And, sometimes there's not all special players, because it's hard to do those things. It's hard to be as consistent as you can possibly
So
be.
I'm not talking about state championship or anything, but do you see a little bit of with this team?
I do. I related this team a lot to a lot of people that I talked to the 2021 year, which we made Sulphur. In a year where we looked at each other as coaching staffs going, we don't know who our starters are. We don't know who our leadoffs at. It's a different lineup every time. And those kids just put themselves in a position to succeed, and the ball bounced our way. And this year is a lot of the same way. We got great kids, from seniors to freshmen. And we're just hoping the ball bounces our way because these guys are doing the little things that they're supposed to do.
Talk about your position grouping that you feel is maybe strong or strength of your team, whether it be the infield, the pitching staff, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I got to be careful what I say. I got a lot of opponents in the room over here. No, our infield's coming back, so there's going to be pretty much all seniors on the infield. So we're hoping that that's going to be a strength for us, and something can be a strength for you but not be consistent. We want that to be consistent, consistent strength. And we're returning a lot of innings on the mound. So, hopefully we can carry ourselves with pitching and defense, and then while we're trying to figure out this lineup.
Very good. If you have one worry about being successful, I don't know if you're goal-orientated or not, that doesn't matter too much with this question, except that to achieve that goal, you worry about this one thing. What might that be?
Letting the simple things get boring. It's so simple to have good footwork on a ground ball and to check all the boxes at the plate and to make sure you got good fundamentals and technique throughout the whole field. But to do that consistently is very, very hard to do. How hard is it to wake up every morning and make your bed? It's easy, but it's hard to do it consistently. And I think that's a worry for a lot of coaches is can their team do the simple things consistently and not let it get boring when you're working on it every day.
Very good. I didn't ask you this from the beginning, but would you describe your team as being veteran or experienced? Do you have a word for that?
I think it would be a good mix. We have a lot of seniors that played last year, but like the outfield is going to be fairly young, inexperienced when it comes to the varsity side of things, and the pitching is going to be a mix. We're going to have some seniors that have done it before, and we're going to have some younger guys, freshmen even, throwing some innings for us that are going to have to prove it. And then, you got the senior heavy infield. So I think it's going to be a good mix for us. And, it's just, can we do the little things consistently?
Very good. Wish you the best of luck this year.
Appreciate it.
It is my pleasure to be joined by Cade Romero, head softball coach at South Terrebonne, which is a little odd because it's a little bit of a transformation coming over from Central Lafourche, but obviously very versed in the scenery of softball in our area. Thanks for being here. Talk about it. How's February and January been leading up to softball?
Well, so we're kind of behind in a sense of where I've been in the past because I've had a lot of girls that are in different sports, and so am I. I went from football straight into soccer, and now I'm going straight into softball. And I didn't start at South Terrebonne until August 1st. So we had a couple little things that we went and hit and everything, but we're really starting right now. Our first technical full week was 2 weeks ago last week after our soccer playoff game. But it's fantastic. I've loved what I've seen so far. It's a great group of girls. We have a brand new field. So everything's just going together well.
So the success of soccer and a lot of girls who play soccer playing softball has to be pretty comforting. And you were around the soccer program, so you've seen it a little bit. So there's a little bit of a transition, but I do understand what you're saying because you were not there in the summer to see it all. I understand there's a handful of girls, though, that really can compete and play, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, we truly have probably our most dominant pitchers that are going to be probably our starters are both in basketball. So we won't get them till later on in the season. So we're pretty young, but we have some great girls. We have girls that are well versed in softball. They play travel ball. They're very consistent in their the things that they've done. And the reaction, or I guess you could say how they're taking in my coaching coming in, has been astonishing to me. They are just ready to get up and roll.
Very good. Where are you guys playing at, out of curiosity?
Well, we're playing at school now. So that field is set up. Our field will be completely complete on next Friday.
So giving everybody here and everybody who might be watching a description, if I'm standing in front of South Terrebonne on Highway 24, I think it is.
Right.
Where is the softball field?
So if you're standing on the highway, if you look to the left, they have the gym. Across from the gym in the field is going to be our softball field.
Very good. So you people who traditionally remember it being on the right side, it'll be on the left side.
Yes. It used to be in the front on the right side. Now it's in the back on the left side.
So this is the land that the school system bought going out that way. All right.
Yes,
very good. Didn't realize that was going to be ready to go.
I didn't either.
Stress, things. Where are y'all practicing at real quick?
We're practicing at the field.
Okay.
The only thing that's not up yet is our backstop net, which we've found ways to get around it.
But the field's ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very good. Strengths you think so far that you've seen?
I think our strengths is going to be our senior leadership. We have a couple of girls for sure that are coming from soccer that I've already seen their leadership in soccer. And that's given me a lot of hope for what softball is going to look like. And they are going to play a very prominent role in what we do during the softball season. So I feel like that's going to be probably our biggest strength.
Very good. Those things that have to get better quick that you've seen. I know it's early on, but things you think have to get better quick.
I think for us to be successful, we have to be able to block out the outside noise. I know that's something different, but to me, like, I'm trying to establish this mindset in the girls of we should have our own expectations for ourselves, but no expectations from anybody else. Like, we know what the outside's going to think of us. We know, seeing off of past years, seeing the different coaching changes and everything, like what they're going to think of us. But we have to be able to block all of that out. Just play one game at a time, take one practice at a time, and, just learn to be more prominent in the way that we carry ourselves, and learn to keep on going, keep on rolling, let the punches come and get right back up and punch it again.
Very good, Cade. We wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you, sir.
I'm happy to be joined by Stephen Martinez, head baseball coach at Houma Christian. How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
How's January and February been going?
I'm just getting my soccer people back. Still got some basketball people out. Same problems that I've been hearing throughout the day, but it's been going pretty good. It's going well.
That being said, and I'd like to expand on that a little bit, and obviously with Houma Christian, it's expanded just a little bit that you do have to let those guys play the other sports. And they have, and I'm sure you wish that they would have done well and won a state championship in soccer, but you kind of get them now. Does that affect any way that you schedule early on in the year? Did you sort of know that, or you just kind of go after it?
Scheduling's fairly difficult to be able to get games and get teams with certain travel situations that we face, but it doesn't change how I schedule. And like you said, I had that conversation with somebody. I wish them the best and go to their games and hope they do well, but getting them back is a breath of fresh air.
Talk about what you've been liking, what you're seeing, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I have a good group of, I think I got 5, 6 seniors. One of them's injured. We played a scrimmage the other day. 2 of them also got injured. So, but I have a decent amount of seniors and a decent amount of young guys. So upperclassmen doing a really good job with the underclassmen about, getting them into the form of what's expected,
Feel pretty good about your pitching staff?
Pitching, I think, is one of the best things. I think that we're going to, the strengths that we were going to talk about is, I think pitching would have been my answer. Defensively, we're fairly well, but like I said, we got some young guys that have to fill in some certain spots, but we have a decent amount of pitchers that can fill up the zone.
So if you're talking about pitchers being maybe a strength, what might be the thing? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a technique on the field. It could be anything from leadership to whatever you might deem it as being. What might be the thing that has to get better?
Offensive, productive, being productive enough to make sure that we can get people across, moving on to the next base, moving people around, and being good on the base path.
It's a new district for you guys, and from that perspective, and I'm not trying to knock any high school or whatever, but if you're going from South Plaquemine in baseball to, say, Catholic of New Iberia, it's a little bit different
That being said, does it up the game a little bit even? Do you think your kids look forward to the challenge?
I think so. I think we would prefer this district than what we were going in the other district, like playing teams that are going to put a challenge to us. This district is different from anything we ever did. It's a district tournament, so it's like a week.
Oh, is that how y'all are doing it?
Double elimination is what they decided before we even got into it. So that should be fairly interesting, new experience.
Do you know where it's going to be held?
I think Catholic and New Iberia.
Catholic and New Iberia.
As far as I know, yeah.
And you guys traditionally have had a middle school team, so you've had a team that's kind of come up and fed to you, right?
For the most part, we had it in the past.
It just depends on numbers and everything else, right?
We don't have lights at our field either, so finding a place to practice, like we go till dark basically, especially with daylight savings time. Finding a coach is also another issue, but we have had it in the past.
Very good, very good. We wish you guys the best of luck this year.
Thank you.
Fortunate to be joined by Chandler Guidroz, head baseball coach at South Lafourche High School. How have you been?
Good, and you?
Good, good. Talk about your February. I keep saying February and even into January because that's the official time. But I know, Chandler, over the summer you've seen your kids leading up to everything that's about to start happening with baseball. Feel pretty good about things?
Yeah, just tremendous growth in our 2 scrimmages in the last week. We've really had outstanding performances. 2 scrimmages we've scored 20 runs combined. So offensive production's there. We throw in strikes. We really like where we're at.
Yeah, listen, and I've been sort of following Bucky, and Bucky mentioned that, and the first thing that stood out to me was run production. Like I'm going, this is good, because in scrimmage, a lot of time kids, they might not still be there. They might have been in soccer. They might have been in basketball, whatever. By the way, do you have anybody in basketball?
We have one starter, projected starter in basketball.
That being said, do you foresee, being at the plate being maybe a strong suit for you?
Yeah, I think so, and it's got to be, a little bit more unconventional than we were in the past. Back in 21, 22, we could play for the 3-run home run. That's not us anymore. And we have to understand that as coaches, we have to play a different style. So it's a lot more moving guys over, a lot more aggression, taking chances on the bases, not being stupid, giving outs away. But when there's an opportunity, we want to push the issue and force the other team into making mistakes.
I asked some of the other coaches, they've learned how to make a schedule throughout the year. I know a lot of times early, you got away from here, you go to maybe Eunice or somewhere and play. Is that the same sort of format you following this year?
Yeah, we are. We're actually going to be playing a 3-game series with Central Lafourche this year, which I think is going to be awesome, a good tradition that Coach Martin and I wanted to start. We're going to try to do that every year. And then going back to Cecilia, going back to the New Orleans area, and going back to that Letcher tournament.
This is a compliment, and I tried to get that through sort of when I was talking to Mike Barba from South Terrebonne, because I see a lot of similarities in y'all programs. You get off the bus and you might be taking BP and nobody's falling out their chairs looking at you do it, but then when you start playing, there's that something. It's something. What makes that? I'm trying to get you guys to put your finger on it. Simply because y'all go out and y'all are not totally error-free, but you understand how to play the game. Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I just think both communities, it's scrappy, hard-nosed kids, man. And we've always heard that whenever growing up there, it's these 2 bayous, it's a different kind of kid that you get. And I don't know, I can't put my finger on it either, but it's always scrappy, hard-nosed bunches.
So I do not want to be negative, but I do have to ask this question. If there's something you worry about, maybe one part of the game or, again, the leadership role, whatever it may be, what might worry you a little bit?
Yeah, we got a couple of young kids that we're putting in there. We got a couple of freshmen that we really think could play. And, you're always hesitant to do that. Like Coach Barba said earlier about this team reminds him of his 21 team. This team reminds me of my COVID year, where we had a senior class with a core that had coming back that we believed in. And we just stuck some of those freshmen in there, and we were going to see what happens, our sophomores, whatever. And those guys turned over a couple of years later to be pretty damn good. So, it's going to get their feet wet. We're going to go through the growing pains with them. But that's kind of our, our what we pausing at. It's understanding they're 14 years old.
Do you take the time to either use them as an example or just for you to go look and see the Josh Pierces and the Delahoussaye and how they're doing at the next level? It would seem that some of your kids have something to look forward to, right?
Absolutely. And look, those guys come whenever they off. They come around. Nobody wants to catch Josh whenever he wants to come throw a bullpen with us. But But no, they look up to those guys. That's who they saw growing up. So absolutely, we use those guys as the examples of what they can be.
And I'll revert back to probably the first question on here that deals a little bit more of describing your team. Do you think this year you're more of a veteran team, experienced team, young team?
It's a true mix. We project to start 4 to 5 seniors, and the rest, it's about 2 juniors, 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen that we're looking at. So it's going to be a good, healthy mix, and we like where we're at. The guys that we do have coming back and the guys that we're pumping in, I think, could replace a lot of the production we lost.
And quickly on the mound, feeling pretty good?
Yeah, look, we every scrimmage we played, we 70% first pitch strikes, 60% overall strikes, and that's well above our standards. So we liking where we're at, for sure.
Very good, very good. Wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you.
I am very fortunate to be joined by Hilary Boss Hill. We're going to give everybody credit on this right now. Head coach of the softball program at South Lafourche. I was telling Hilary as she was walking up, you got named with the least amount of time to get ready. Has that been a hindrance? Because you knew the girls. You kind of were involved a little bit, right?
Actually, I got named as coach 2 days before Christmas break. So coming into the program, I could say there was really only 2 girls that I knew personally because I got the chance to actually coach them down in reg ball in 7 and 8.
Right.
So now I'm getting a second chance to coach them again in high school.
Do you still have some that are involved with softball?
Yes, we have a few girls.
I'm sorry, basketball. Basketball?
Yes, we do have 4 that are on the basketball team that we're waiting on. Yes.
So talk about what it's been like in January and February. As far as the progress y'all made, have you been happy what you've been seeing, considering?
I am very happy with the progress that we made on the short time that we've had together. The girls are really coming together as a team. I can't talk about what was there in the past because I wasn't part of it. But apparently what I'm doing is working and it's prosperous. We had a scrimmage against Central a couple of weeks ago. And one of the umpires came up to me after the scrimmage and he says, you know, coach, he says, I just want to give you a pat on the back, he says, and tell you great job. He says, you know, y'all may have lost the scrimmage. He says, but that team that I'm seeing in that dugout is not the same team that I umpired last year.
Very good.
He says they have dedication. He says they have hustle. He says they have pep in their step, you know, encouraging their players. He says they've become a family.
Good. So you consider it as a process. This is going to be a process, right?
Yes, it's going to be a process, you know.
What position groupings, whether it's, you know, pitching in the circle, whether it's the way y'all are hitting the ball, what have you been happy with? Because I'm going to get the negative side of like what has to get better. But first, what's been going well?
Actually, overall, everything's really been going well because the girls, you know, for instance, okay, well, where do you play? Oh, well, I want to play second base. So I've been trying to create a lot of more utility players and seeing some of the girls, oh, they told me they might have been a second baseman and this one might have told me she would have been a left fielder. And I've just been noticing things with my experience of previous years coaching. And it's like, I said, well, why don't you go try left field? And she looks at me and here it is, she's bobbling ball after ball after ball at second base. And then I put her in left field and she never drops one. She don't miss a ball. And she's like, well, I never knew I could play outfield. You know,
so you're getting to see that side of it where it's you're thinking outside the box kind of with the girls too.
Yes.
Very good, very good. As you lead up into this, was the schedule kind of made for you? You had any say so in it, or how was that?
Actually, at the beginning, when everything was made and handed over to me, and I took a look at the schedule, and I'm like, wow, 19 away games, 6 home games, and I'm like, this is not going to work. So, like I said, 2 days before Christmas break, I'm handed over this schedule, and it's like, no. So then we started emails and phone calls and text messages, and we just basically changed our schedule. You know, now we got 9 away games, 9 home games, 5 tournaments.
Very good. So you even it out just a little bit.
Even it out, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about, you know, you said most things are going well. If you had to pinpoint one thing that has to get better for y'all to be successful at the level you want y'all to be successful at?
I would have to say it would have to be for the girls to learn how to believe in themselves as much as what I believe in them. I see the talent on what they could bring this team. They just have to see and believe in what they could bring this team.
Very good, very good. We wish you all the best of luck this year.
Thank you very much.
I am fortunate to have Matt Plitt here with me, the head baseball coach over at E.D. White. E.D. White, who has such a successful program, 2 years removed from the state championship. Last year made it to the quarterfinals. I have to tell you this, Matt, I'm going to tell the same thing to Juli when she comes up. We do a radio show in the morning, right? And we sitting there, and the guys didn't even realize this, but this is almost mind-blowing. E.D. White in every sport so far this year, 2024, 2025, has made it at least to the quarterfinals. Think about that. Football was in a state championship. Volleyball goes without saying what they do every year. Your swim teams were 1 and 2. I mean, one won a state championship, one was second. Cross country, a state championship. No pressure whatsoever.
No pressure. Thank you. Thank you.
I just thought I had to say that along the way.
No pressure.
But listen, you guys do so well each year, and I think that's ingrained. I'd like to say this, too, as a little bit of a compliment. I can remember when you were at Westgate, and it's a situation where I have the utmost respect because you knew ultimately the record wasn't the, I've been talking to all these coaches about the goal. And I think, and as I'm looking out and I see Jamie, fooling with kids from Ellender and stuff, you brought some things to that program, but then you go to E.D. White where the resources are different. I'm being quite honest with it a little bit. And that being said, I think you love those kids as much at Westgate as, any kids along the way. How has that been for you? Was that a learning process that maybe makes you a better coach now in 2025?
For sure. Say at Westgate, bring back a little bit of memories there. But at Westgate, I was the only coach. I coached JV, varsity, freshman. I was at every practice. I went every single road trip all by myself. So it had some good things that come with it, some bad things that really gave me a little bit of some trust issues when I started actually having assistant coaches. But it taught you a lot, definitely, what to do and to not really worry about and focus on those wins and losses. And if you really take the focus away from that and focus on the little things, then every day those kids improve and they get better. So
let's jump to E.D. White. You are at the 4A level, but you do have the same conflicts that a lot of coaches might have at a single A. And what I mean by that is, I would venture to say, and you probably know the percentage better than me. Obviously, you should know it better than me. 90% of your kids play football, right? You probably have some that are playing basketball, right? So that being said, when you go into January and February, do you sort of know what the blueprint's going to be, or it's still a process going into the start of the season?
I mean, a little bit of both. You kind of know the blueprint, kind of don't know what to expect at that point. But we have 55 kids this year in the whole program from 8th through 12th, and 45 of them play football. And then you move into the basketballs and the soccers and everything else. But we only have 3 in basketball currently. 8th grade basketball finished. We got them back. Soccer, we have 1. One's hurt, but so those 2 sports not as much. But a lot of football carryover. You kind of, to me, it all depends on how the football programs run. And I think Coach Kyle does an excellent job. And I think from top to bottom football. So when we get those guys from the other sports, there's not a huge drop off just because those other sports are ran so well.
Talk about the things that you really like that you have seen in January and February.
What I've really liked so far is we graduated 3 seniors last year. We only have 5 this year, but it's not just the seniors trying to lead. I think from all the way down, last year we had an 8th grader play varsity, and usually you get those young kids that get that varsity time, and sometimes the next year they're kind of relaxed and they kind of get a little bit lazy on you. But that hasn't happened with our younger guys. So I think that the biggest thing that I've been excited about so far is those younger guys leading too.
Position groupings that you feel really good about. You can mention names if you wish to, but those things, whether it's on the mound, whether it's infield, whether it's at the plate.
I think baseball specific, I think our biggest strength this year is pitching. I know a lot of people probably doubt that comment because we lose, Tyler Weimer from last year, who's at Arkansas State now. But we return every pitcher that we had from last year besides him.
I agree. I saw some young kids pitching and I went, wow.
Both scrimmages we've played so far, we've started off the first 3 to 4 or 5 innings have been freshman, sophomore. So
wow. Something you maybe think has to get better. It's not there yet.
I would say maybe has to get better is just to focus on little aspects that don't deal with baseball. And that could be anything, how we leave a dugout, how we carry ourselves after a loss, even after a win, the bus ride home, things like that. At times it's shown it's been really good, but I think for us to be really consistent, that has to be better.
I have not had the opportunity to look at your schedule. Is it set up in a certain way that you wouldn't have done 3 years ago?
I think I'm going to have to quote Coach Kyle on this one. He talked about the football schedule and it had a difficult schedule, and he said that's the schedule that they earned. And I want to say I think my list got up to about 45 coaches I contacted to play a game, and I had 2 return. So I think it's a schedule that we earned. There's going to be no week that we have a time to relax or take off. So it's going to be a pretty tough schedule.
Very good, very good. Have you figured out this PowerPoint ranking thing, or does that not even play into your schedule making?
I do, but I don't really use the ranking system for my schedule. So
very good, very good. We wish you the best of luck
Thank
this
you.
year. It's my pleasure to be joined by Juli Dardar, head softball coach at E.D. White Catholic. Good to have you here. Congratulations, belated on a great season last year. Y'all had a terrific season last year. Where you make it to the quarterfinals and everything went well. And the one thing I couldn't help but notice, you were young. And then I get your preview sheet in and I look and it's like, yeah, we were young, but I'm actually counting on a couple of girls that were in the 8th grade last year to maybe step up for us too. Talk about that a little bit. Is something happening where there's a cycle coming through?
We have a lot of girls that play travel. And those girls are coming in now. We're seeing that wave hit us. So we're going to be young for a few years.
District champions last year, new district this year, where there are a couple of teams in this district, obviously with Vandebilt and some of those teams who are established in softball, so to speak, a little bit. But I think it probably ups your game just a little bit too,
it does.
right?
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think-
it makes them want to compete.
So how has January and February been leading up to the season?
It's been good. We've done some work prior to that, and the girls work on their own all the time too. So I think we've got a lot accomplished before the season, and we're ready to play.
So strengths, those things that you think y'all will be good at this year.
Without being overconfident, I think all around we really are. Pitching is strong. She's coming back. 2 of our pitchers actually
you
are coming
actually
back.
have a
Right.
few pitchers.
And I have one young that's coming in to help us. And defensively, offensively, we're pretty solid.
Very good. Things that may worry you a little bit that we just have to get a little bit better at that. Maybe not necessarily that you can't just go beat some people, but to get to that elite level, what might have to get better?
Just the continued practice and working on things that we see that we have issues with during games, coming back and working on that next day at practice.
I asked a lot of coaches about their schedule. Was it a little different now that you're going into a district and district games are sort of set up? Of course, everybody does it different. Some play 1 round, some play 2. Has it been harder for you to make a schedule this year?
No.
Because I know that some of those teams that you're going to be playing in district were opponents otherwise, right?
Correct. We, just a couple of tournaments, you just have to say, I don't want to play them till it's time to play them in district. But no, my schedule was done pretty early.
And one thing I have to compliment you guys on, probably 4 years ago, if I passed there, I'm not sure what the name of the street is, your field was nice, but it's not nice like it is now.
No,
How does that happen? Is that parents who just really got
we have
after
a lot of parent support. They're into the program just as much as we are. They love it. They want better for their girls. So
it competes with some college facilities.
It really is.
So, does that put a little pressure at all?
No, it just makes it easier for us.
Very good, very good. We wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Happy to be joined by Todd Martin, head baseball coach at Central Lafourche High School. A lot of you recognize when I said Todd's name. He's been around, but it was at Terrebonne last year. And kind of went home a little bit. Good for you. Good for you. As you are a Central Lafourche grad. Been going well?
Fairly well, yeah.
Let me ask you this. I did not know this before you guys came in today, that you're actually at the school. Because when you were at Terrebonne, you were still business orientated and went in as a CCP coach. Does it make a difference to be at the school, in your opinion?
Absolutely. Time wise, that's the biggest difference, right? At Terrebonne, we was having 6 p.m. practices after working 10 hours a day, having to leave work early for game days. I mean, I probably lost money last year coaching baseball. This year, you're on campus, you can interact with the kids a little more, kind of stay on the kids to make sure the grades and the behaviors doing good in school. A little bit more action. And at Terrebonne, I mean, look, I worked for good people at Terrebonne, but I didn't have that day-to-day interaction with my boss.
Right.
At Central Lafourche, I do.
Right.
Which is big.
That makes total sense. And with the kids, for that matter, just at lunchtime or whatever
Absolutely.
the case may be. I mentioned this to a couple of the other coaches, their facilities. I want to tell you, both to you and Brandon, it's been a while since I had been there, but to go back and see, and I know y'all are always hoping for better and you want more things, more cages, more this, but congratulations. I mean, it's really nice there. Y'all are doing a terrific job.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, and things in the baseball community is not affordable.
Correct.
And unfortunately,
and not easy when the coaches are the people who have to sort of.
we're working it and we're funding it, so
Yes.
it's tough.
Lost a couple of kids last year that we saw in the baseball all-star game from Central Lafourche that were players. That being said, how you like what you got coming back?
Yeah, we have 13 seniors this season, which is a lot.
Yeah.
They're great kids. Just they're easy to please. They know their role, and actually they help you coach. So that they know my standard. They took it very well, and they're helping with the young guys. 'Cause, I mean, most baseball programs or softball programs we're understaffed. You only allow 3 paid coaches, including yourself, and 3's not enough to coach 3 teams if you're trying to get everybody their reps in.
That's right. That's right. I agree 100%.
Without asking somebody to do it for free.
That's right. Yeah. Then you're going out and beg,
Yeah.
to get things done. When we talk about, you mentioned 12 seniors. That all being said, it's time for you to start throwing 9 kids out there.
Mhm.
I realize you have a little time before you get into the meat of your schedule, but right now, if I asked you if you were really set on 9, would that be a false statement that it's going to take some time to see who those 9 are?
In some positions, yes. Look, I got some guys that's in soccer, and and they're going to help us out tremendously.
By the way, folks, the predominant soccer program, obviously in the area, and I never thought about how that.
Both
would
our
affect-
girls and boys in the
6 grand.
quarters right now. The boys were finished number 4 in the state.
Yes.
Girls 5.
Yes. In
Boys
Division 2.
Boys will be hosting their game Monday. Girls got to travel to Lakeshore Tuesday.
This is a question that is totally ridiculous to ask you. I know you want them to win. We all want them to win, but you also get your kids back whenever it's done, and it's a process. Some of those kids you really looking at being players for you?
Absolutely. I have 2 to 3 that's coming, and they're going to start immediately. And I'm patiently waiting for them. And I look.
But you know how good Central's soccer program is. Did that affect any way you scheduled early on?
No,
You'll create depth,
It's
right?
hard to get games in.
Yeah.
And you got to be cautious with the traveling. We fund our own buses, so you got to take that into account when you're scheduling games. And you only get so many days of playing days to cram in 34 games in a season. I tell everybody it's a long but short season.
The nice thing is I guess coming from Terrebonne, you're not going to be surprised with the river teams with Destrehan and Hornbill. You've seen that before. What kind of tournaments are you in this year?
Week 1, we travel to Plaquemine. Then week 2, we have our 3-game series against South. We go there to Friday. They come to us for a doubleheader on a Saturday.
Oh, good. So it'll be there and you.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll, and then next year they'll come to us on the Friday and we'll play the doubleheader at their place. And then we go to the Eunice tournament. And week 3 and week 4 we play in the Hollandville tournament. Central Lafourche been playing that tournament for 100 years now.
That's your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to do it. Feeling pretty good on the mound?
Extremely good on the mound. We played 2 scrimmages this year. We allowed 2 hits and 14 innings of baseball.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because if a coach comes up here and I say, feel pretty good on the mound, and they give me a wishy-washy answer, I'm worried, because obviously that's where it all starts. Is there a place that you really not necessarily worried, but that you're thinking we got to get better at doing that, whether it's scoring runs?
Yeah, I mean, you'll never score enough runs, right? But offensively, we need to have more competitive at bats, aggressive at bats, team at bats, and ultimately, that's just what we need to be productive.
Very good. This last statement I have here: a successful season. We are going to have to
know our role.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Wish you the best of luck this upcoming year.
Thank you.
So happy to be sitting with Brandy Zarang, softball coach at Central Lafourche High School. How's it going?
It's going really well. I was with Central Lafourche last year as an assistant coach. Actually, the last 2 years. It's my third year there, so I've established relationships and know the girls.
So you know Cade too.
Yes.
Obviously, Obviously. So there was, although it's new being a head coach, you still knew the girls you had coming
Absolutely,
back.
yes.
Talk about, did you work with them over the summer in any capacity, or is it a deal where now you're just sort of getting them in January and February? And I know you have to wait for the soccer girls to.
Right. No, we've worked through the summer. Coach Cade had left, and I think I officially got hired maybe the week after 4th of July, that week. But we worked out during the summer. Coach Cade was with us. We lifted weights, conditioned, and then we stayed with them the whole time through then, worked in the off season, and we just got finished our umpire scrimmages. So we're so far 3-1 in preseason. So
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Things y'all are doing well, or at least in your mind you're doing
we're hitting the ball right now. The girls are buying in. I mean, like I said, it's not really a change switching over. We just hired a pitching coach for this season, which is helping out tremendously. And my husband also coaches with us. So we have still 3 coaches. So we're hitting the ball well defensively. Our last game we played against St. James. Just things are coming together, man. The girls are moving where they got to go. Just things are implemented in practice. They're now seeing in the games that, they're
And I
doing
would
really well.
imagine if you did have any that are in soccer, they're not even with you right now either.
We do have one in soccer that we miss. Yes, she was with us through the summer, and then when soccer started, she went with Coach Ryan, and we're rooting for them on Tuesday. We want her back, but we want to see them go far.
So let's talk about Inner Circle. You said you do have a pitching coach now. Have you
Yes.
seen that sort of reap benefits for you?
Absolutely. We hired Coach Nora Keene the start of the year, so she's been with
Absolutely.
us.
An all-state pitcher
Yes.
in the area.
She is doing phenomenal with our pitchers. We have a little depth in the pitching chart this year. Big things. I'm hoping our pitchers are learning more pitches and stuff like that. It helps tremendously with her every day at practice.
Like I've talked to a lot of coaches early on in your schedule. Any tournaments that you guys are going to be playing in?
Yes, we go to Livonia every year. Love the Livonia tournament. We are going to Central Catholic. And then we're actually hosting a round robin in April with a couple teams. And that's really it for the weekends. We're not doing any more tournaments. We have a lot of during the week games.
And I hate to get negative, and it's just not negative in any way, but it's more like the things that you have to make sure that your girls do. Anything that you think has to get better.
I would like to see us cut down on our errors. We on one of our preseason games we had just played against Assumption, just kind of self-inflicting. If we can cut down on that and just not let them snowball, I think that's our biggest thing.
Very good, very good. Everybody measures success a different way. Some it's like, I want to win a state championship. Some it's like, we just got to get better at this or whatever. So finish your statement. For you, in your mind, for y'all to be successful this year, what will that look like?
We just need to hit. I know we can hit. They know we can hit. And preseason, man,
Score runs, huh?
Yes, preseason we've been hitting really well, putting hits together, and just like I said, cutting down on our errors. 2 years ago, we were a district runner-up to Hahnville. And last year we did fall short of where we want to be, but I think this year everybody has the same goal, and we know that we can achieve it.
Very good. Brandy, we wish y'all the best of
Thank
luck.
you so much.
Thanks for tuning into our show. We hope you watched all of it, but if you were only able to get what you liked, we hope that our chapter marks helped you with that. And remember, subscribe and like our podcast. It will give you notifications each week related to when we release and those type things. We love giving you news about our Bayou region and all of our kids in the area. We thank Terrebonne General for giving us this opportunity to do that. So keep an eye on soccer. We hope our soccer teams do well. Keep an eye on basketball. Playoffs for the girls are going to be announced this weekend, and then the following weekend it's going to be the boys. And a huge thanks to all of the baseball and softball coaches for giving their time to come in and chat with us this past week. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week with more of our podcast.